It is my pleasure to introduce to you Marc Armstrong, who's here all the way from Philadelphia. Hey, Marc. Marc is the director of the Public Banking Institute, which is currently working with both the city of Philadelphia, the postal office. Can you imagine having banks in all our post offices again? That would be a really neat form of public banking. City of San Francisco, and the state of Vermont. I'm trying to introduce public banking back into the policy debate.
Thank you, Gwen. I'm going to take just 10-15 minutes talking tonight, but I need a little help because what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce something a little different from what I usually do. So who wants to remember things? Dan. Yes, you're going to remember things because I can't. So what we're going to do, I need everyone to kind of shout out what sort of public projects here in Vermont you want to see funded. So, I just drove from California this summer, and I was able to go across the Golden Gate, the new San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. Okay, so that's a beautiful bridge, and that needed to be funded. Okay, so that's an example. So what are some bridges, what are some examples of things that need to be built here in Vermont? Light rail. Let's say electrified light rail. What? Schools. New school buildings, retrofitted school buildings. What else? A bridge in a specific town. What town is that? Okay, paths. Okay, so more transportation. What about energy? What about energy? Okay, well let's go with solar, okay? Okay, tight-fitted houses, retrofitting them to keep the energy in. Okay, what else? There's got to be more. Healthcare. Okay, that's a good one. So there's also recycling waste. I mean, there are probably some plants that could be built to recycle waste. What? Compost. Okay, composting, yes. So Dan, did you get all these? So it's a long list. So folks, how do we typically fund things like this? There are four answers. Bonds. That's a good one. We usually do bonds. What's another one? Taxes. We usually pay taxes, okay? Another one is what? We sell the assets. We sell other public assets, and we take that money to fund these new things. And the fourth one is we lay off people. We lay off people. What did you say? We borrow. Well, yeah, borrow is like bonds. Yeah. But a fourth one is we lay off people. We cut expenses and use that money to fund, any one of these 15 or so ideas.
So in other words, we convert people into property.
Yeah. So but basically, those are the, Senator Polina is here, and this is the discussion that goes on in all our state capitals, in all our city councils, in all our county commissions and such. It's a discussion between these four alternatives. So in North Dakota, they have a fifth alternative, and here's what it is. It's really simple. So one of the things they wanted to build this past year was a water pipeline. They needed to get fresh water to the western part of the state. So it's just like any one of those 15 or so projects we're talking about here. But what do they do to fund that? Now they're very proud in North Dakota. They will say, we don't spend more than we take in. And so they don't do bonds. That bond idea, they don't do bonds. Okay, and they don't raise taxes. They're trying to lower taxes in North Dakota, and they don't really cut expenses. They don't really need to. So and they certainly don't sell off their public assets like they do in Arizona and other places. So what they do is they use their public bank to fund, to issue a loan to pay for the water pipeline, and then it's the people who pay for that water every month on their monthly bills who pay for the interest associated with that. Well, what happens to that interest payment when it goes to the Bank of North Dakota, which is a public bank? It's kept by the bank, and either kept within the bank, which is owned by the people, or it's returned to the general fund, back to the very same people who pay for the water. So it's a closed circuit. They don't have an extractive economy where you have interest being pulled out of the economy and sent to Wall Street or wherever it goes to. So what happens is their bank funds these projects, and the money is, people pay for it, either with a metered service or through just regular type services that they pay for. And then the money goes back to the people in the form of lower taxes or increased services. So it's a different way of approaching the things that we all want. We all want these 15 or so public projects. Those are really important to us. But the debate is changed from just choosing between one of those four alternatives that we reviewed, because they have a public bank that allows them to fund those very same things that they want. It's a very simple idea. They also use the bank to fund commercial loans. The largest loan portfolio of the bank is for students. Their student loan rates are about 40% less than in other states. So they're passing on a really good deal to their students. So they're using the public bank to serve the public interest. Simple. So that's what public banking is all about. So that's all I had to say. I mean, I just wanted to. I mean, we could do questions. We can get into this in great detail. I don't know.
Yes, what interest rate do the water line?
Now think about that. Does it really matter what the interest rate is?
Well, maybe.
Well, if the Bank of North Dakota charges 1% or 6% on that loan, it's a $50 million loan. Does it really matter? Because what happens is whatever that interest rate is basically paid for by the ratepayers. Of course, they want to see it lower, okay? But the money is captured as profits for the bank, then returned to the general budget, and then taxes are lowered or increased services are provided to the entire state, of course. But see, it actually stays within the economy.
I do understand that.
Yeah.
If I was a ratepayer, I'd be.
You'd want a lower interest rate. Well, the key thing is the question is, what is the cost of money to fund that water pipeline? So the $50 million that was used, where did that come from? Okay? So this is the secret about banking, and Gwen knows all about this, and this is why the Federal Reserve discussion is really important. But the fact of the matter is that banks don't lend out what they have on deposit. What they do is that they have $100 on deposit. They have the right to create $100 of loans. So the state of North Dakota has hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars on deposit from their own state tax revenues. They can create the equivalent amount in loans. So that $50 million was paid for with bank credit, zero cost. And that's exactly what can be done here. Yes?
So, I get what you're talking about. What I'm interested in is the rhetorical interface between the logic, which is very community-oriented. It's the idea that the entire state is one large community, and yet I'm imagining you must be fairly conservative and affected by the right-wing logic about individualism and not being dependent on other people. How's the language handled in this?
It's actually worse than that. Here's in North Dakota in 1919, the same bill that created a state bank created a state mill, okay, a state flour mill. The largest flour mill in the United States is owned by the state of North Dakota to this day. It is owned by the people. Here you have a very conservative Republican state that has inherited these incredibly powerful economic, productive economic capacity, whether it's in the mill or with the bank. Now, both are viewed as kind of utilities within North Dakota. it's, you know, money, the creation of money is a utility. It's probably more important than water or electricity. I mean, you need to have a public service associated with it. And in North Dakota, they also consider a mill to be absolutely essential to the economy. You can't have it be privatized because if you've got a monopoly on that, you basically disenfranchise the farmers, which is really important there. So when you look at money or electricity or water or as part of the commons, which is what we're reclaiming, you know, I've been tired of so we need to reclaim that as part of the commons, and so that the North Dakota folks have inherited that. It's hard for them to defend it, but you know, it's the way it is. So yeah.